Here. All right, we're going to get started in just a second talking about power outage technology here. So welcome, I'm Thomas Smith from DIY Life Tech, and I'm here today talking about different power outage technologies. So things that can help you out during a power outage at home. And the reason I decided to talk about that today is that I actually had a power outage here at my home in California. There was a construction project, and they had to replace a power pole, and so our power was out for about 5 or 6 hours. And that's pretty common these days in California. We get a lot of these outages during bad weather, if there's a public safety shutoff. So I've started to build a set of really helpful power outage tech, and I'm going to share some of that today, including some technologies that I use to actually stay online and be able to still work, since I work from home, like many people now, during a power outage. So let's get started. The first one that's probably pretty obvious, but this is a really cool version of this particular thing. This is the ThruNite Archer, and it's a ThruNite Archer 2A V3 flashlight. So obviously flashlight's pretty important during a power outage, but this isn't just any flashlight. So this has actually got a lot of cool features to it. So it's actually fully waterproof, and it's very, very solid. As you can see where I kind of dropped it by mistake there. It's a solid aluminum light, so it's very light, but also very solid, so you can drop it and you can bang it around and it's totally fine. But the coolest thing about this is that the LED in it is actually incredibly bright. So I'm going to switch this on. It's very easy to operate. There's a little gasketed rubber kind of button at the base here, and I can press that and it's going to switch that light on and off. So it's protected by these little ridges around the side, so you can't really do it by mistake. You just press this when you're ready, and again, it's sealed and rubberized, and this switches the light on. Now, on the actual light itself, we have a button where we can select a variety of different modes. So there's this little button on the top here, and pressing that is going to change the mode on this flashlight. So it starts off with this very, very dim flashlight setting. You can barely even see that it's actually operating. And they call that a firefly setting. The reason for that is it's almost like if you want to read a map. It's like just a very, very tiny amount of light. It's probably not going to hurt your night vision. Again, if you're using this during an outage, you might want to be looking at a map or something. You don't want to ruin your night vision. Or reading a book at night or something like that, you can just use that firefly setting, which you can see almost no light at all. Then, as you increase the level of light on here, we're going to end up with these brighter and brighter settings on the flashlight. And I can demonstrate that. So this is the firefly. Again, and then as we press that button, we get these slightly brighter settings. So we've got here, we can keep ramping that up until we get to the full brightness. And this is really bright. It's hard to see in this room with the lights on, but at night this will really illuminate the whole area around you. And the reason that is that this actually uses one of the brightest LEDs available right now. And it's actually the same LED that you would find in an LED street light, believe it or not. It's a Cree LED, so I'm going to switch it off. I'm going to hold this up on a much lower setting, and you can see, when we see if I can actually turn it off completely, you might be able to see the little LED inside there. So it's one tiny LED with a reflector, but again, because it is so bright, it's almost like you have a piece of a street light sitting there in your pocket. And this works great during a power outage, because you can light up the whole area around you, you can light up your way as you're going, and you can switch it to a lower setting so it's not so bright. Again, you can use even that firefly setting if you don't want to ruin your night vision. But then if you want it to be super bright, you just bump it up, again pressing the little button here until you get up to that extremely bright setting. And once you're there, you can actually have this street light strength LED shining and lighting your way at night, whether you're walking around outside your house, inside your house. It's super easy to use that. And then the final thing that I really like about this, it's nice to have rechargeable lights, and we'll take a look at some of those. However, it's also during an outage nice to know that you can just easily swap out the batteries on the light. So that's one of the nice things about this, is that it runs on just traditional AA batteries. So as long as you've got a bunch of those around, if you've got a long-lasting outage, you run out of power, you can just open this up, again, totally waterproof, and put in new batteries, and you can continue to use this light throughout the duration of the outage. So it's nice to have that ability to swap those out. You can even, if you want to be even more eco-friendly, use rechargeable batteries and put those into the light here. We are live here, so if you have any questions about any of this power outage tech, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'm happy to answer those. And you can see down in the carousel below, I'll highlight, this is the Through Night Archer flashlight. And I find this works great. It has a little belt clip, so it's easy to connect if you want to easily carry this guy around too. So really nice to have for a lot of different applications. It works great for any kind of hiking at night, even not during a power outage, for boating because it is waterproof, and it's really nice to have this little flashlight. I used this one earlier today. I even used it for home improvement stuff around the house, or home projects. Like I had an issue with my water heater and I had to get underneath there to relight the pilot light, and having this to be able to do that was super helpful. So the Through Night Archer, this one is the 2A V3, and again it's got that super bright LED, the brightest LED out there right now, and that's why it can have just one LED but be so powerful and light up the way in front of you, in addition to having those settings where you kind of preserve your night vision and don't blind yourself at night when you're trying to read a map or trying to read a book, and using that light with a firefly setting. Another light that's nice, again, for a power outage and for other kinds of applications, is this. I just highlight it in the carousel below. This is the WSky LED lantern. And this is basically designed for camping, but again, it works great for power outages as well. And essentially, it's a several function in one lantern. Let me move this guy out of the way. The first setting is basically, it's super easy to switch on. You just open it, and as soon as you open it, you can see it lights up, and it provides this nice diffuse light that's going to light the whole room around you. And it's got this little hanger on top, so I find this is great for lighting a whole room during an outage. Again, 360 degrees, all LEDs all around here, and then you can hang this up in your room. Just put it over something on a hook, or anything you can kind of just put it on in your room, and it'll provide a nice amount of light and light up the area around you. So that's super helpful. Again, for camping, this is great too. It makes a great tent light, or to light up your campsite at night. And because it's not using any kind of candle or electricity or even something that gets hot, this is totally cool in operation. It's safer than having candles to carry around. And then it's super easy, again, when you're ready to close it, you just push it back down. So if you're fumbling around in the dark, you don't have to find the buttons or anything. You just grab it and open it up, and you've got nice bright light filling up the room. This one was a little more directed, a beam of light, versus here we've got a nice diffuse light that lights up the whole area around you. If you're just joining us, we're live here talking about power outage technologies. I had a little outage today earlier, so I decided to highlight some of the tech that I use when the lights go out to continue to work and light my way. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat below. You can see right now in the carousel below there, I'm talking about the WSky lantern here. So we just open it, and immediately that 360 degree LED will switch on and light up the area around you. But that's not the only functionality. There's also a couple of other things you can do with it. So you can see we've got a little button on here too, and it does actually have a directed light. So if I press that button, it's actually going to switch on this bright kind of flashlight style light on top. And again, you can see that makes more of a spot, lighting up a specific area. So this is helpful if you want to, again, walk around at night and use this. It's a little unwieldy for that, but it works well, and it's got this nice glowing top here. So if you don't want that diffuse light of opening the whole thing, lighting up the area around you, you can instead press the button on top and get this more directed light that you can use to light your way. So that's definitely nice to have. It's nice to have that different functionality where you can use this and be able to have multiple options, whether you want to have directed light or diffuse light. And then also we can press this down and hold it, and it's going to toggle through these emergency light settings on top. So this one's going to blink out SOS, and we can switch again through these different functions. So if you just want to have these blinking options, And you can, so here we go, SOS signaling. So if you ended up in a, an emergency type of situation, this is great to have in your car. And you could set this up on the side of the road, point it outwards, and if you needed help, this is going to sign in Morse code, SOS, and let people know that you need to be helped. Again, also good to have along if you're camping and if you needed to signal to anyone passing by that you needed help, this is a great way to do it. So you've got a lot of different functions. The directed light, we've got this this light where we can have a blinker. We can do the SOS function, or again, we can just open this up and have it be a general diffuse light. A couple other things I like about this. Again, I showed you, you've got the handles to hang this up. You've also got the handle on the side here, so you can hang it if you want to hang it from the side and have the light come out differently. You can do that. And again, we are live, so any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Please hit the follow button below me too if you want to see more of my live streams about all kinds of tech products. So we just go ahead and open this up to get the light on. Hang it in either way. There's also magnets on the bottom of this. So that's really helpful too if you want to hang this up in your house especially. So I find actually a really cool way to use this during an outage is if you're trying to cook in the kitchen. Maybe you have gas stove like I do. You can still cook even if the power is out. I will actually open this and I'll take the magnets and I'll stick it right on the side of the fridge, and that lights up the whole kitchen, so I can have nice light and be able to easily move around. And anything that's magnetic, you can stick it to that. I'm trying to see if there's anything around me here that would qualify. I guess I could stick it on the side of my car. I guess it's not ferrous there. So, but anyway, you can stick this onto any kind of steel or ferrous metal, like a fridge or that kind of thing, and it'll stay on there, light your way around your house. So a really nice little lantern. And then the coolest thing about it, I think, is that you can plug it in with USB. So you can see there's a little USB port on the top there, and actually recharge it. So this is not one that goes through batteries. This actually uses, again, USB, and you can charge it up and have this ready to go next time there's a power outage. I just leave it plugged in so it's always charged up. It's just got a standard USB charger like you'd use with an older cell phone. And then when you're ready to go, you know that this is always ready for you. You don't have to worry about batteries. Just open it up. And that way you can use it pretty frequently. You don't have to worry about replacing batteries. You can just charge this and be ready to go. So that's the WSky lantern. Again, we are live, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. And it's in the chat there. Also, if you would follow me below, just press the button that says follow, and you'll see all of my live streams. So thank you for checking this out. Another piece of really cool power outage tech. This is actually not designed to be used just in a power outage, but I find it works great as an emergency backup light during a power outage. So this is the Basis 42 LED under cabinet light. And you can see this is designed to mount underneath a cabinet. And I didn't bring the mounting bracket with me because it is on my cabinet. But basically this mounting bracket you stick to the bottom of your cabinet, and then this just uses a magnet and connects onto it. And it is rechargeable, so you can see there's a USB charging port on the side there. And Basis actually sent this to me to check out, so I should say thank you for that. And so it sticks on there, and you get this nice light, 42 LEDs, so it's quite bright, and it'll light up the area underneath your cabinet. So just general day-to-day, this is really nice to have because it lights and makes it easier to work in your kitchen with this light. But then during an outage, the coolest thing is that because it is battery powered, it's going to still continue to light that space up. So it's just a little extra, emergency light that automatically switches on, basically, because it's always running on battery power. There's a little touch pad on here where I can press the little power button on that, and you can see there's a power button that'll switch it on here, and I get the light switched on. And then again, during an outage, I can still do the same thing because it is battery powered. So I like to have this, and then I can take this, you can even pull it off the wall, so again it's magnetic, and walk around and use it as another light during an outage. But I really feel nice that it's, even if there's a short outage, you're not scrambling for a flashlight. as soon as that power goes out, you can still hit this button, switch it on. I actually leave it plugged into USB all the time, so this is always, running when I'm in the kitchen. And then if the power goes out, it still has that battery, and it'll run for a couple of hours at least with that battery on. There's also some nice things you can dim or brighten this light. So some nice day-to-day features. It's good to have that. And you can also control the color temperature, so you can make it more of a warm light, more of a cool light, using the other switch on here. If you're just joining us, we are live talking about power outage tech. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. You can see all the products I'm talking about in the carousel underneath the stream here, and you can check those out as well. So this is the Basis 42 LED under cabinet light. Again, not designed to be used during a power outage, but I find it works great, and it's nice to have that as an additional little backup. And I'm a big fan of any kind of power outage tech that's also functional on a day-to-day basis. So I like that this is something, Basis, kind of funny, that's the name of the product. Anyway, it's nice to have this on a day-to-day basis, just lighting the area under my cabinet, so I have a nice working surface there. But then also to know that during an outage, I can either grab it and use it like a flashlight, or it'll just continue to provide a little bit of light, especially if it's at night and navigating your house might be a challenge. It's nice to have that extra little bit of light in the kitchen there. Super easy to use. I'll just switch it back off. You can see it fades back out, and we're good to go with that. So that's the Basis 42 LED under cabinet light. Again, we are live here, so if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these products. One thing I also want to call out, I don't have it here in front of me because it's under my desk, but this is the sort of unsung hero of my power outage earlier today. This is the APC 1500 uninterruptible power supply. I've highlighted it down in the carousel here. And I have it running, and it actually is an uninterruptible power supply, so it'll keep your computer and your internet routers running even in the event of a power outage. And so during normal operations, it works as a surge protector. It works to keep the power conditioned so your computer runs well. But then if there's an outage, it's got a built-in battery. And instantly, without the computer even losing power, it'll switch over to that battery and power the computer and power the internet routers through that outage. And it'll last a couple of hours. In my case, it lasted about 2 or 3 hours during the outage that I had this morning, and kept my routers going. And that was really a lifesaver, because that meant that I could continue to work even during that power outage. So I could keep my internet going. I could stay online, and if you have your computer open and it's plugged into this APC UPS, you don't actually even lose your work because the computer never shuts down. It just powers it through that outage, and then as soon as the power comes back on, it'll switch back to your wall power, and it'll actually charge the battery in the UPS backup. Uninterruptible power supply means, again, can't interrupt it, so even if there's an outage, it's still gonna operate fine. So it's great to have that. I was really happy to have that today, and it again ran my computer and my lights and my in my office and my router, so I could stay online during that outage. If you're just joining us, talking about power outage tech, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat below. And then the final thing I want to highlight here is this complete earthquake bag, and I'm going to pick it up and put it on the counter here. It's heavy, so I didn't want to leave it on my desk the entire time, but here it is. So this is great to have as an emergency kit. They call it an earthquake bag, but actually this works great for any kind of natural disaster or any kind of power outage where you need to have access to basic supplies. So people call this a go bag sometimes. You can make your own go bag, but I love that this is super easy. It's all made for you, and it's basically enough of everything that you need to sustain a family, in this case a family of 4, for 3 days, which is the recommended time after an earthquake or another natural disaster that could knock out power, where you need to be self-sufficient for 3 days and be ready so that you can plan from there. So this has all kinds of stuff in it. Again, everything you would need for your family for that time period. And that includes food, and water. So this is an emergency ration, it's called. And it's basically, I've actually tasted these. It's like a really dense power bar almost. And each of these has the equivalent, let's see what it's got. It's got 400 calories in each of these. It's almost like a really dense, really kind of, almost a little bit oily cookie. And this is enough calories to sustain you through that time period. You know, you're not gonna feel full, but it's enough to give you that emergency food that you need to keep going, even if there's an extended, again, up to 3-day outage. So we've got the food. We also have basic, toiletries and that kind of thing in here. So you've got masks, you've got tissues, you've got, basic hand warmers, you've got all kinds of things that are helpful in the event of an outage. You also have this little hand crank emergency radio, so this is nice to have, again, during a weather-related outage. Great to have the ability to, listen into your local radio station, figure out what's going on, get emergency messages. Even if you don't have internet access or your phone's run out of battery, you can still use this, and it actually has a hand crank, so you can crank it up. And this is all, again, part of the complete earthquake bag here. And you can customize these bags to a particular size of family or particular length of time. I did a family of 4 for 3 days. So again, you get everything that you need to sustain through that period. And everything's in these nice plastic bags in here. You've got water disinfecting tablets. You've got an emergency tent. You've got emergency sleeping bags in here. Thermal blankets, water, so there's emergency drinking water rations in here. Again, enough to sustain you for that time. You've got gloves, you've got a sewing kit, you've got a first aid kit, everything that you need all in this super easy bag. So it's nice to just have this as peace of mind, have this earthquake bag, and I'll hold it up so you can see all that stuff inside of there. It's super heavy. Again, I don't want to leave it on my desk here for too long because it is so heavy. But it does have a lot of stuff, and it's got wheels on the bottom. So if you need to roll it, it's not a big deal. But it's great, just peace of mind, knowing that you've got that in your house, so that if there is an extended power outage, again in California, we do get earthquakes, and so it's nice to know that if there was an earthquake and we lost power for an extended time, that it's possible to have this. The other thing that's nice on here, and again, this is live, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. Also, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please press that follow button down below me there, and you can tune into all of my future live streams as well, but all kinds of tech products. You can also see any of the products that I'm talking about in the carousel underneath me, and you can see I've highlighted right now this is the complete earthquake bag. And I really like that it's this big red bag. You can just stash it away. I put it in a cabinet in my garage. I just know it's there. And if there was a extended power outage and you're sheltering at home, then it's nice to know that this is here. And even if you're cut off from food and water or anything, power during the extended outage, then you can still provide all the things you need for your family with this bag. And if you're just joining us, again, we're talking about power outage tech. Please feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat below. Other cool things with this, if you're setting up your own go bag, and this provides that sort of baseline of good stuff to have in a go bag, you also want to customize it with stuff that's specific to you and your family and your situation. So that can include medications. If you have pets, you want to have pet food, anything you would need, because there's 2 ways you can use this bag. If you're at home and there's this extended power outage, or an earthquake or natural disaster where you're sheltering at home, you just know it's there. You can pull it out. You've got your basics, again, your first aid kit, and just things that are helpful. Even if it's not going to be, you're not going to be totally cut off from the world, you still got a lot of these just basic useful things in here, like first aid kits and gloves and masks and hand warmers. We've got goggles in here. We've got a whole emergency whistle and matches. Knife, everything that you need for those basic kinds of situations. So it's great to have that. But then there's also, the possibility that you might have to evacuate. And if you are needing to do that and you don't, again, have power for an extended time period in your community, you can just take this bag, and that's why a lot of people call it a go bag. because you can just grab this and go with it. You know you have all of those basics that you need for whatever that situation might be. So it's nice to have that, just peace of mind, again, to have that in the garage and ready to go. And as I was saying, you can customize it with your own stuff. So your medications, there's this extra pouch on the side, medications, identification paperwork, dog food if you have a dog, anything that you want to put in that's specific to your family or your situation. There's extra pouch on here in addition to all that great stuff that comes in the bag itself. So this is definitely really helpful to have, and again, just good peace of mind. You're probably not going to use it during a given outage, but it's nice to know that it's there. And the other thing is it also lasts a long time. So I was showing these emergency rations, which I've actually sampled. These are actually designed for lifeboats, believe it or not, and it's a super dense block. It's like a solid thing. And it's just got a ton of calories packed into this little thing. So this will keep you sustained in terms of food in an emergency. If you've got no power and you don't have an ability to cook anything, you still do have access. And again, this is enough in this particular bag for a family of 4 to last for 3 days, which is the recommended amount of time to have. So nice to have that. Again, just peace of mind in there. And these last for quite a while. So this will expire. This was made in 2020. This will expire in 2025. So this bag is good for a while. After a certain point, you will want to swap it out if the things in there start to expire. But you've got quite a lot of time with this particular go bag before you have to switch it out and get a new one. So that's definitely a nice thing to add to your home. Just nice, especially if you live in earthquake country or anywhere where you could be without power for a more extended time period. We are live, so if you're just joining us, feel free to ask any questions about any of these products. I'm going to bring these back into the middle here so we can have a look at them again, and I'll talk a little more. Go into these in a bit more detail. So as I showed earlier, 2 lights that are kind of nice over here to have during an outage because they are both battery powered. This is the W Sky Lantern. This to me is one of the most versatile. I'll pull it up here. You can see it highlighted down below me in the carousel. And this is one of the most versatile ones, again, because you've got this, this nice bright lantern where you can light the area around you. And especially for kids, if they're a little bit scared of the dark, this lights up the whole room. And again, it's a lot safer, I think, than having a flame, having a candle. It's just this cool to the touch LED, nice and bright, lights up with this diffuse light, and you can hang it up in your space. Whether you're at home, you can bring this in your car. If you break down and you need to have a light, you can use it for that. Or again, a lot of people use this for camping. For boating, it's nice to just have this around. And close it and the light will come back off again. So I like that it's just so easy. This is the one I grab when there is an outage, like the one I had this morning here in California. Just pull the top up. You're not fumbling around trying to switch a flashlight on. And I like to, again, leave it plugged in all the time. So there's a little USB port on the side of this. You can keep this charged up, and then when you need it, you just open the top and you're good to go. You can light up the room. Or, if you're trying to go outside, maybe looking around outside your house, inspecting for damage, there's this rubberized button on there. We can go ahead and press that, and that's going to create this more like a flashlight, like a directed light. If you're just joining us, talking power outage tech, feel free to ask any questions in the chat below. If you're liking what you're seeing, please do follow me by pressing the big follow button underneath me there. So you can see this is a more directed flashlight, and then we're just going to hold that button again if we want to get some of the other functions that you can get on here. So we got this blinker, for example. This is great to have if you are traveling in your car and you have this light in your car. If you had a breakdown and you want to signal to people at night by the side of the road, put this out, and the blinking light there will alert people that you've broken down so they can avoid you. But it's not going to be that super bright light where it's going to shine in their eyes and potentially obscure their vision. So it's nice to have this, and then again we can press this and select multiple options like that directed bright flashlight beam that we had before. You can always click if you want on the products in the carousel below me, and go and check out this WSky lantern here. So again, open this. We can have both functions going on there if we want to. And there's as you saw there, there's an ability to have it actually send out SOS in Morse code by blinking. So if there was really a dire emergency and you needed to signal that you really needed help, that's a great thing to have on there. You could set this up and put it down and let it signal that for you. And it's nice to have, again, that peace of mind, especially if you take this with you traveling. But again, I use it mostly in the home for power outages. And I can just open this up, light my way around the house. It's pretty light, so I can carry it around. And it's nice to have the ability that it can actually, with a magnet on the bottom here, stick to pretty much anything that's metal. And again, I said earlier, I put this in, I open this up, I stick it to my fridge, and it lights up my whole kitchen. So it's really easy to still use this in my home and light up the room. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer. That's the WSky lantern there. We looked a little bit earlier at the ThruNite Archer flashlight here as well. This is a really cool flashlight, and it's basically got a super bright LED in it that is actually from a street light. So it's the same LEDs that are used in commercial street lights, and that makes it super bright. You can see the LED inside of there. Great way to light up your way as you're walking around outside in particular, but also if you just want to really have a bright light. Very small, compact, super solid. You can definitely carry this around. If you drop it, it's not a big deal. And you can carry it around your house and light your way, either inside or outside, using this ThruNite Archer flashlight. And the other one that I showed that I think is cool because it's really easy to use this on a day-to-day basis and then to use it during an outage as well. This is the Basis under cabinet LED light. It's 42 LEDs embedded in this little light bar. Basis actually sent this to me to test out, so thank you for that. And you can see, you just press the button on it, and this mounts under your cabinet. It's got a magnet on the top here, and there's a little magnetic bracket. I've got mine under my cabinet, so I'm not going to show that because it's actually mounted already, but this is super easy. You charge it up using the USB port on the side, stick it to that magnet, and then you have this nice under cabinet light on a day-to-day basis that you can use to have an illuminated cooking surface in your kitchen. But then if there is a power outage, you can also switch it on and use it to light up, again, that space, and it provides some ambient light, keeps that room a little bit brighter even if there's an outage, or you can pull it right off the magnet and use it like a nice flashlight, taking it around your house. So again, these dual use technologies are great because you know, it's sometimes you don't want to have to invest in something you're only going to use in the event of a power outage. So it's nice to have things that you can use during an outage if you need to. You can use on a regular basis, or you can use, you know, like the WSky lantern if you're out camping, or if you're doing, you know, boating or anything where you're in an outdoorsy type of setting. It's nice to have these. And this really adds a lot to the house because it mounts under the cabinet in the kitchen, lights up the area underneath you there. You can plug it in. I actually leave mine plugged in to USB all the time, just plugged into the wall, so it runs anytime I want, and that means it's always charged up. And then if there's an outage, you know, sometimes you get these little outages that are a couple of minutes. I mean, there's a surge on the grid, at least here in California we get those, and it's nice because this is just on already, and then it just runs off battery for a couple minutes. You still have that light if you need to look around or find, you know, your other flashlights. It's nice to have that set up and ready to go. So I really like this Basis light, and again, thanks to Basis for sending this to me to check out. So good to have that, again, in the event of an outage. I did talk a little bit about this. This is actually under the desk, so I can't physically show it to you, but this is the APC UPS, uninterruptible power supply. You can see it in the carousel underneath me. It is a power adapter that actually has a battery built into it. So you can plug your computer and your routers into it, and if there's an outage, it will actually automatically power your computer and your routers, so you can stay online, continue to work all through that power outage. I used it for a couple of hours this morning, and I was able to stay online and continue my work day since I work from home, even when the power went out. So a little bit dark in the room, so I actually had that, and then I took my WSky lantern, opened it up, and put it down there next to me. And I even, I could run an extension cord from that uninterruptible power supply over and power lights or power my computer. And again, it'll work for a couple of hours on that. And with that APC UPS, you do get a little readout telling you exactly how much power you have and how many hours it'll run for at your current load. So it's nice to know how much longer you have so you can shut your computer down, make sure you don't lose any work in the event of an outage. If I had to choose one of these that I think is my favorite power outage pick, again, I think it would be this WSky Lantern, just because it is so versatile. It's light, it's easy. I like that you can recharge it, so you're not wasting batteries with that. As I said, though, there are some advantages, like with the ThruNite Archer. It's nice to have the ability to swap out the batteries, which you can easily do, but it's also nice to have something rechargeable so you don't have to worry about using those over time. And you can basically just unplug this and switch it on. So that's a look at some of my favorite power outage tech. And again, I had my little outage this morning, so I got some good opportunities to test all these gadgets out. If you find any of them interesting and you want to check them out, you can see them in the carousel underneath me. And if you found this helpful and you want to see more of my live streams, please do follow me by pressing the follow button below. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.